2002, Gore Verbinski's The Ring premiered. This American horror film about a cursed videotape that kills whoever watches it was a massive success. It didn't take long before eyes turned to the Japanese original, Ringu, which the film was based on. This version, from 1998, directed by Hideo Nakata, is probably one of the most well-known Japanese movies worldwide at this point. However, despite it being labeled as the original, it wasn't the first time a movie about the cursed videotape was made. No, we have to rewind another 3 years back to 1995. That was the year when the V-Cinema Ringu Kanzen-ban premiered. But the story about the deadly tape goes back even further. That is because it all originates from a book written by Koji Suzuki, published in 1991, and that is the horror mystery novel Ring, and it's brilliant. With its success, it was only a matter of time before a film adaptation would be made. So in 1995, television network Fuji TV brought in the somewhat unknown TV drama director Chisui Takigawa, along with then screenwriter Joiji Ida, to actualize Koji Suzuki's work into a motion picture. And one Friday night, the 11th of August 1995 to be more precise, it was time for the very first Ring movie ever to premiere. Initially under the title Ringu, it would later be released straight to the video stores, and at this time with some modifications in the soundtrack and extra nudity. And that is where the additional Kanzenban comes into the title, as it translates to Complete Edition. This adaptation stands out for the reason that it's highly faithful to the original novel. So having a single mom as the lead, a creepy woman combing her hair, twisted faces, strange photographs, and of course a very famous final scene involving a television are nowhere to be found here. That was all invented in the 1998 cinema version. Just a little heads up. Here, our protagonist is a man named Kazuyuki Asikawa, played by Katsunori Takahashi. He's a former journalist demoted to a proofreader and is soon to have a child with his wife Shizuka. Early on in the film, Kazuyuki witnesses a young man on a motorcycle collapsing and dying. And later that evening, he also receives the news from his wife that her niece Tomoko has died. Some curious investigation reveals that Tomoko and the man on the motorcycle, along with a young couple found dead in a rented car, all died at the exact same time under the same mysterious circumstances. He sees this as a potential news story that could perhaps repair his reputation as the promising journalist that he once was. He learns that these 4 people were friends and had spent the weekend together at a resort club a week before they all died. So he makes a visit and finds some strange notes written by one of them in the guest book. So he checks out the VHS collection by the reception, and bingo. And so, we have now arrived to the scene where Kazuyuki watches the cursed videotape. And this scene is by far the best one in the whole film. It's a rather abstract video with random images of a volcanic eruption, blurry faces, rolling dice, and an old lady speaking with a non-comprehensible dialect. The longer he watches this, the realer it all starts to feel, as if the images are coming to life. When the video is reaching to its end, a final warning appears, saying that whoever watches this tape will die in 7 days, but then proceeds to explain how to live. And that is to... That's right, the final part of the tape has been taped over. In need for some help, he tracks down an old acquaintance named Luigi Takayama. A rather dynamic character portrayed by Yoshio Harada wonderfully. Rest in peace. He works as a university professor at the Department of the Paranormal, and he's also a claimed psychic, which may be useful when dealing with something supernatural. He is also part of the reason why Kazuyuki was demoted from a journalist to a simple proofreader, just to summarize it. Together, they start to analyze the tape thoroughly and find a lot of bizarre information about it. One of them being that the video was not recorded with a regular video camera, but through materialization by a woman named Sadako Yamamura. And they are of course very interested in finding this woman. As if things aren't stressful enough, Kazuyuki is about to find out something terrible.
デッキの中に入りっぱなしになってたから気持ち悪いビデオよね。
見たのか。
With its wife and unborn baby in danger too, he's keener than ever to solve this mystery. So how does this early bird hold up then? Well, I think it's important to point out that this is a TV movie, not some high budget production for the big screen, but a much simpler kind with the purpose to bring some brief, easily digested Friday entertainment, like a soap opera but in film formats. And the visual appearance of this really does look like a 1990s TV show, with the quick dolly shots and of course the dramatic zoom-ins. I think it's charming. As I already mentioned, the plot is very similar to the original novel. Almost all characters from the book are presented here, with no major changes applied to most of them. Kazuki and Shizuka has a newly born daughter in the book, but they simplified this by just making Shizuka pregnant instead. No real baby on set to deal with, I guess. Another important thing to point out is that this is not really a horror film, but could be described as a supernatural thriller if anything. And that's not a negative thing, just don't have the wrong expectations. And of course, I cannot end this review without some comments on the antagonist Sadako, the woman who created the cursed video. She's of course associated with that terrifying ghoul that comes right at you with a morbid walk and that face hidden behind her long hair, and you will not have any of that here. But again, if you don't hope for some horror, you can definitely appreciate this Sadako as well. After all, she's an interesting character with an intriguing backstory that this version explains in much more detail. She was played by 21-year-old model Ayane Miura and is presented as a very feminine character, if not sexual, and is not scary. Not the slightest. In summary, Ringu Kanzenban is by no means a masterpiece, but that's not really what it's trying to be either. It was made to entertain, and from that point of view it does serve its purpose. But if we zoom out a bit, this is a whole lot more than just a random TV movie. It is the very first in the never-ending franchises with sequels, prequels, remakes and reboots that are all based on this concept. And for that reason, this has become something quite special. It is definitely what I would call the hidden treasure in the big pot of Ring movies. Thank you for watching.